I'd like to thank Kim Olsen from Anubis Gate for joining us today with progressive metal band from Denmark. So, Kim, how you been in Denmark? How's things?
Yeah, things are returning to seemingly returning to normal here in Denmark, but COVID's going a bit up, but at the same time, everybody is getting vaccinated, so it seems to be at a good level. So I'm hoping, because I teach guitar, so I'm hoping that I won't have to teach online like I did much of the time the last 2 years, because that's a pain in the butt.
Ass. Have you had both vaccines then? Have you had your both vaccinations?
Yeah. I had mine a little over my second one a little over 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So
So,
that
okay.
was really good. I had one day where I was really under the weather, and but fortunately there was Tour de France on the telly. So
I know you feel. So, I mean, we've only actually ever done one interview, and that was for the first album, Purification. That was the very first time we did an interview. We've not done anything since, which is bizarre. But I reviewed all your albums.
yeah, and that's amazing, and that's like almost 20 years ago.
Yeah, I
Wow.
know.
18 years ago. Yeah.
So
I
for
mean,
those,
so we that's because really what is funny about that is that I I was kind of only a guest musician on that album, even though I I contributed a lot to it. But what happened was that I was not sure I wanted to join a heavy metal band. But I just loved the music, and so I joined later, or was asked to join, because yeah, you can't just say, now I'm joining.
so for
So
those people that don't know anything about Anubis Gate, when did you actually form? What year?
ah, I'm crap with years. About 20 years ago. But actually, the roots of the band go back way further than that, to when we were teenagers. And I was in a band with Morten Sørensen, the old Morten Sørensen drummer, and Jesper. We had a thrash metal band called Extreme Feedback.
All right.
And
Okay.
yeah, so we knew each other from then, and we had a drummer called Per Møller Jensen, who later played in the Haunted.
Was he also in the Invocator?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
same
Yeah.
drummer, and
Yeah.
that he was drummer in Extreme Feedback, and he played with Henrik Faber in a band before Extreme Feedback. So we kind of all really knew each other, and of course Jacob Hansen got involved because of Jesper and him knowing each other. So it's kind of like we've been interweaved with each other since we were about 13 to 14 years
Wow.
old.
So what? When you said you were in a thrash band, who did he sound like? What artist did you come close to?
Testament, I would say.
Oh, that's cool.
Morten Sørensen, who was the singer in that band, he had a sort of Chabilisk like qualities. He
Was he the singer that joined Artillery?
no.
No.
Oh no, we never we warmed up for them once, I think, but no, we haven't had any dealings with Artillery. Great band as they are, though. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay then. So I'm going to ask you a quick warm-up question. Growing up as a teenager, when did you start playing guitar, and which guitar players inspired you?
I started when I was 9, I think, and I at first I just wanted to play like John Fogerty. Because yeah, my parents listened to a lot of Creedence Clearwater Revival, and I've always loved them. And then later, all I wanted to do was play like Adrian Smith. So he's still my favorite heavy metal guitar player.
Yeah.
I mean, those, especially his solos on Somewhere in Time. I still put Somewhere in Time on occasionally and think, oh God, he's so good, so melodic, and so much feel. And I love Dave Murray too. And I would say it's the only album I learned to play from start to finish on the guitar. It's the only one album I've ever been checked out so thoroughly. So I kind of ended up, I think, sounding a bit like a cross between Dave Murray and Adrian Smith. And later, I've had lots of other influences, not so much from the metal. I love J.K. Lee. He was a huge influence too. He's still my favorite RC player. But then people like Mark Knopfler and John Mayer and people like that. I really love the way they play too. And I mean, I play a lot of cover gigs, and I think you could say that when I play those, I'm more. It's more like a cross between Steve Lukather and John Mayer. I think that would be a good description, actually.
All right then. So, can you remember the very first guitar you got, and do you still own it?
Um, it's not in here, but I do still own it. Yeah, I think it's in storage somewhere in the house. And I remember my second one too. That was a Höfner Telecaster, and unfortunately, that was a crazy story. I was playing in a band, and all the others were. It was my first hard rock band, and all the others were. I was 12 years old, and all the others were grown-ups. And one day I'm turning up at rehearsal, and I left my guitar there the last time we rehearsed, and it wasn't there. And the bassist comes and says, "Here, I turned your guitar in and bought you a new one." Uh, so what you did what? And he didn't pay for the rest. My parents had to do that, so they were livid. But that was a Westone Pantera. It was a great guitar, but I wore it out. So,
So, you say you've got the first guitar still. Do you actually? Have you actually recorded with that in recent years?
not in recent years. No, it was just a cheapo Spanish guitar, a short scale, and I'm not sure my thick fingers will fit on the fretboard anymore. But over there, that one over there, I don't know if you can see it, the
Yeah, I
Spanish
can say it.
guitar.
Yep.
That's the first really good guitar I had, and that's been on quite a few Anubis Gate albums. So
Wow.
yeah,
So when
so it's
you
good.
when you look back at the Anubis Gate, I mean the first album, I mean the lineup, I mean there's yourself and you're the only person left in the band, aren't you? Because the original singer Torben left. What happened there?
Yeah, he left because he got a medical condition that made him unable to sing. So, and what happened was that he wasn't sure, or his doctors weren't sure he was ever going to be able to sing again. And there we were, having just released our second album. So, Henrik, we had a couple of gigs. We played Prague Power Europe, and we played a couple of gigs here in Denmark. And Henrik filled in for him. Um, but Henrik had no ambition of being a heavy metal singer. Like I really didn't have any ambition about playing guitars and keyboards in a heavy metal band. It was just we fell in love with the music. Um, so and then Torben had to bow out because he was, I don't think I'll ever be able to sing again. He was able to sing again. Unfortunately, he was.
Yeah.
Um, and then out of the blue, Jacob sent us a tape of him singing over some of the songs of the A Perfect Forever album. And of course, it was totally different from what Torben, from his voice, but it sounded just like we were Queensryche or something. And so he sold himself to us like that. And so then Jacob joined.
Right. Yeah. Jacob Hansen.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean the first album. What songs for you stand out and why?
Oh, the title track. Yeah, Purification. I mean, we still play that one live. And it's just a beautiful song. I think a really beautiful song. That's my favorite track, and one of my very favorites of ours actually. Um, Nowadays, I think a song like "The Shadow." I mean, that's one of Torben's best vocal performances ever. I mean, he's so soulful on there, and yeah, that's a really good track
I
also. So
remember. I remember the first time I heard that album and reviewed it. Crimson Glory came to mind.
yeah, and it does sound quite a bit like Transcendence, doesn't it?
Yeah, but there's also another band that came to mind called Kingsburn.
I don't think I've heard of them actually.
No, they're very much like Crimson Glory. They only ever did one album, and it was released on a label called Nordic Metal. They were a band from America. I'll have to send you a link on YouTube to see what you
Yeah,
think
yeah.
of them.
I think I know. I've heard of the label though. I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. A Danish label, I believe.
Yeah.
They had Psychotic Waltz and bands like that on the label.
Oh wow. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So the first album, so that's your favourite song on the album. What? How would you compare that first album? What style of music would you say it was? Would you say it's power metal? Because now you're playing progressive metal.
Yeah. I think power metal, atmospheric power metal. Would that be right? I mean, there seems to be more. We always had more keyboards than the regular power metal bands. I think. Um, so and also that was a fun thing about the first album because what was released was actually the demo of the album.
Yeah.
And I think it was Jacob that sent it to Locomotive. Either it was Jacob or it was the guys from Instrumental, and they sent the demo to Locomotive, and within half an hour we had a record deal. Uh, and then we said, great, now we can record the album for real. And they said, no, we want that. So
Wow.
I mean, I don't know if you've ever noticed, but it's not real drums on the album.
A bit
You
like
know,
Crimson Glory, the drum
yeah,
machine.
yeah, and that's another comparison with Transcendence. Um, and I'm actually kind of glad we didn't re-record anything because yes, but we recorded some of his guitars actually, but that was the only thing because it's just a unique kind of sounding album, and the bass is thundering. And today, with all those down-tuned guitars, you can't really make the bass as loud today because it's just in the way of the wall of Marshall stacks and down-tuned guitars. So I like that the album is there's nothing really that sounds like it in the new decade. Uh, I think it's
Right.
not a very modern sounding album, but
No.
I like it, and I like it better than the album that came after it. Um,
Because on the second album, A Perfect Forever was Jacob Hansen. What did you think of his first band, Invocator? Because I used to be good friends with those guys back in the day.
oh, I think they were a great band. Oh, okay, yeah,
Yeah.
great band. And they're still considered, I would think, the pinnacle of Danish thrash metal, and
Yeah.
rightly so. I mean, no slide on Artillery because they are great, but I mean, Invocator had something otherworldly about them too. I can't explain what it was because I mean maybe it was actually Jacob's barking vocals. He sounded sometimes like a mad dog, and it was surprising to me. I mean, I didn't know he could really that he could sing clean. Let's call it that. I didn't know that. I was when he sent that demo of himself singing over all stuff. I was like, wow, you can sing like that? So, but the way he was on the first Invocator albums, I thought that was great.
Yeah. I mean, when I listened to Invocator, I always used to think of him as a Dark Angel meets Creator. Like, he had his vocals were like Millie from Creator.
Yeah, I mean, I think they were hugely inspired by Creator. I was always more in the Slayer camp, I must admit. Not that Creator was. I don't know if they even exist anymore.
Yeah, they're playing Bloodstock Festival in 2 weeks in
Oh,
England.
wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, but as a child, or as a youth, an album like Raining Blood, that's still a freaking fantastic album. 30 minutes of pure adrenaline. You can't help being. If I'm in a bad mood and I just turn that album up, I'm always better afterwards.
I mean, I've heard Jacob, when Jacob left Invocator, he started doing progressive stuff because he sent me a demo of some progressive band he did. I can't remember the name of the artist right now, but he was doing vocals. That's probably why he inspired you to join you guys, I guess, after.
Oh, I didn't even know that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I thought we were his first progressive love affair.
No, I've actually got the demo tape that he sent me. It's quite
Oh,
interesting. Yeah,
so he must actually. What you're telling me is that he had been toying with the idea of singing before us, but I think in us he found the vessel.
yeah, pretty much. I think. I mean, I think he's a great producer. I mean, he's done quite a lot. He's getting really popular in Denmark with a lot of bands.
Yeah, he's fantastic. I mean, I've been apart from all the Anubis Gate album because I mixed the last one. He helped me doing it, but I mixed the last one, the covers album. That was me. But he has always been involved to some extent in all the albums, and I've done lots of session as a keyboard guy
Yeah.
for
So
him.
what
So
songs do you like off the second album, and which ones are your favourite?
and the title track again. I mean, I think the title track of the second album is my favorite of the Torben era, favorite song of the Torben era. I mean, everything that the band was capable of at that point came together in that song.
Right. Okay then. I mean,
Uh,
Jacob. How many albums did Jacob do? You guys? Was it three albums?
he did two as a singer. But that was on the third and the fourth album.
Right. When you look at the first two albums, how would you describe your music? Would you say it's power metal, progressive metal?
I would say power, but leaning towards progressive as we got into the second album. Longer songs and more intricate riffing. And but it's funny, that's I don't really. To me, it's heavy metal. I don't know if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Even though we got even more and more progressive, I mean. The most important thing to us has always been the vocal melodies, actually, the songwriting. Um, and sometimes we create songs as the way that Henrik just sends an a cappella says, here's a melody, create some music for it, and sometimes it's the other way around also, but if the vocal melody is not good, there's it's unusable.
Yeah, I mean, like Jacob, I was quite surprised when I heard him singing for your album when he did the Andromeda Unchained. I thought, wow, he's really sounds great on this album.
Yeah, yeah, and that was fun because Jacob, of course, also he didn't write that much, but he did some compositions for those albums too, and some riffs and stuff. And I was expecting him because of Invocator to do all the hard, flashy stuff. But what he was actually composing was the most poppy songs. A song like the Final Overture. That was mainly him, and then I wrote a little bit in the middle section of it. But that was his song. Um, and Golden Days, I don't know. Even though he didn't sing it, that song was also Jacob's song. Henrik wrote the lyrics, but it was Jacob's song.
It's a good song. It's
So,
brilliant. It's a really good song.
yeah, I mean, it's the only song my wife likes. So maybe that's where I remember reading somewhere that someone called us girlfriend metal. So, but I don't mind that.
All right then. So Hendrik, where did you find Hendrik? Because he's got an unusual voice.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, he did fill in for Torben after Torben left the band, and then Jacob joined. And then when Jacob got so busy, we were recording the self-titled album, and Jacob just didn't have time to record the vocals. And we were kind of, oh, come on, get on with those vocals so we can get this album out. And then maybe we bugged him a bit too much. I don't know, but so he had to sort of bow out and say, I really don't. I'm sorry, guys. It's not happening. Um, and by then it was like it was like a Phil Collins and Genesis situation. Like I couldn't imagine anyone else taking over anyway. I knew Henrik could do it, and by that time I think Henrik had the appetite for it. So and he was always in the band, so I think it was easy to accept him, and he didn't sound that dissimilar to Jacob. You know, he was a good cross between Jacob and Torben. I think is a good cross.
Yeah.
Um, and I think maybe I think Henrik would say this too. You know, it took him the first album to find his own voice in the band, but you know, that's how it sometimes is.
So it's a great singer. I mean, it's obviously Jacob stepped down and he decided to do vocals and bass instead of getting a replacement singer. He thought, right, I'm going to do this, and
Yeah, and it also made. I mean, apart from Henrik, you know, Henrik was always the main lyricist in the band.
okay,
So, I think he wanted to sing his own songs.
right then. So the
uh,
first, so I was going to say the first two albums that he actually played on, Detached and Andromeda Unchained. How do you see the music progress from the early days? Because you started going more progressive, like Fate's Warning, and it's quite hard to describe your music now. Because in the early days, you could say Crimson Glory, but now it's okay.
yeah, I don't know even what do we sound like now. I mean, it's even harder on the newer album we're recording. Um, I think what happened was that everybody just I don't know. Oh, that's it's so matured. It's an overused word. I actually hate that word because every band will say that in the new press release. Their new and mature album with new twists and turns and blah blah blah. You know, but it was kind of. I think we got more courageous in mixing in things from non-metal styles, but making them metal. I think that was what happened. You know,
Outside influences.
yeah, outside influences, yeah, but I mean, it wouldn't work if we played a 12 bar blues. You know, that just wouldn't work. That would sound crazy. You know, it's not like we haven't tried, but we have. It's so we need to reshape those outside influences in the framework of heavy metal.
Right, okay then. So I mean,
That's
sorry, I was going to say you've done like about 3 or 4 albums. You had Horizons was like that came up. I mean, some great songs on there.
yeah. It's I would say that until now it's my favorite album of ours.
Do you know? I'd have to say you've done some fantastic covers. I
Yeah,
mean,
thank you.
I love the cover of Mister Broken Wings. That is one killer version.
I love that one too, and you know, um, that was that was one time when I really had to talk Henrik into singing that one because he wasn't sure he was kind of, you know, I don't think I can do it justice and I might be ashamed of myself, but you know, I was saying to him, you know, go for it. If you don't like it, we just won't release it. And of course he was great on
I
it.
mean, has the actual band actually heard your version?
I don't know. That's
You
we
need to
haven't
you need to
that
send it
we
to one of the band members on Facebook or something. Say this is I'm in a Danish band and this is one of our covers.
well on the covers album we did recently. I did tag some of, you know, we did a Mike Stern cover. Mike Stern is a jazz fusion guitarist, and we did a sort of, you know, Steve Y version of one of his songs, and I did tag him in it, but I think he just chose to ignore it. And I do not. I'm not daring to tag Slayer in the version we did of Aggressive Perfector because they will hate it, I think.
I don't know. I'm friends with Tom Araya's wife on Facebook. I could
Yeah.
send her
Okay.
it.
Well, well, try then.
I mean, after Horizons, you did you did the album covered in black, and now you've got the new one covered in colours.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They were kind of, you know, if Covered in Black was the result of me having a depression, actually. And I
Okay.
mean, I don't write the albums alone. I mean, I rely on I write a lot of stuff, and the others write a lot of stuff too. But it's kind of me that you know, everybody puts their stuff into a Dropbox, and then I'm kind of cooking the meal out of the ingredients that are there. And I think it was because I was choosing the stuff that I was choosing from me and the other guys that the album, it was dedicated to all people in dark places, and I mean both people's. And here I'm thinking of both about depressed people and people who have been circumstanced by life and are doing fucked up things. I mean, it's dedicated to all those people and saying there is a light at the end of the tunnel, actually. So that was my depression album, and then after that, I just needed to do something that was just fun. I just wanted to.
Uplifting, uplifting for you.
Yeah, yeah, and that was because so it was covered in colors was like a a pendulum album to Covered in Black. In Covered in Black, I was in such a dark state that actually I every all the work on it stopped for a year. I mean, we had two songs, and I couldn't write. They were written by Michael. Michael wrote a huge chunk of the opening track, and then he wrote the ballad, which I can't remember the name of right now.
On Covered in Black.
On Covered in Black, yeah, and
Right,
I was working
we've got the combat, too much time, a journey to nowhere,
A
black,
Journey to Nowhere. Yeah, yeah,
right,
A Journey to Nowhere.
right.
And he wrote that, and then I sort of had my breakdown, and we didn't. There was a point where I thought, there will never be another Anubis Gate album.
Really?
But that's how you think when you're depressed. And then I got better and finished the album. Um, and then the pendulum swung the other way, and I was sort of and I mean, since then I don't think we've ever been that productive because at the same time that we were creating all those crazy cover versions because we tried to change all the songs.
Yeah, I'm
You
going to
know?
talk about that to you in a minute.
Yeah. So at the same time, we wrote almost all of the album that we're recording now. So they were kind of like intertwined projects, and the cover album just happened to be finished before the one that we're finishing now. But that was, I think, pure coincidence.
Yeah.
Or maybe it was just easier to. Of course, it's always easier to rearrange. You don't have to write when you do a covers album, uh, so maybe that's why. But really, I've had some people complaining on the Facebook group say, "Oh, you did a covers album and you've gone dry and blah blah blah." But what they don't know is that we've never been this productive. So it's been a fantastic period for creativity since I had my depression.
Yeah.
So if it depressions are never fun, but if it was good for anything, it was that because when the pendulum swung back, I had all this music, and I had the urge to record and play again. You
You
know,
felt fresh and
I felt
alive.
yeah,
And
yeah.
alive.
I mean, it's not. I'm not the same guy. I don't have the energy I had before the depression. I think many people experience that. I'm like a version 2.0 of myself now, but I like the person I've become, and I can live with the less energy that I have. I'll have to live with it. I've
Yeah.
accepted it, I think,
Right then,
but
so
I've had energy for music.
okay, so when you look back at all your albums, which album would you say is your favourite and why?
Horizons right now, I would say Horizons. Um, that was also a good period. I
Yeah.
mean, it was we did the Detached album, and many people loved that album and said this is your pinnacle. And when we did the self-titled album after that, it was kind of I had to forget that we did the Detached album because if I've had the Detached album in the back of my mind, I wouldn't have been able to because I would have been scared people wouldn't like the new one. But when we came to the Horizons album, I had put the Detached behind me, and I was able to think, "Oh fuck what people say. I'm just gonna write, and in the end, it's going to be all right." And I think we've always had that in the band. the most important thing is to trust the process. So I mean, the process will deliver the answers. In the end, it will deliver the answers. So and there was a time when I didn't trust the process, but at when we came to Horizons, I trusted the process again. I trusted my own instincts and all that.
So has Jacob been a producer with you guys since you left the band? Then has he been working with you all this
Yeah,
time?
yeah, yeah. He's yeah. I mean, I can't imagine doing an album without Jacob involved in some way. I mean, there are other. I mean, Jacob is hugely important to our sound, I think, and it's not like other producers couldn't do it, but I mean, him and me work incredibly well together,
That's
and
good.
so yeah, and I mean, we don't have when I suggest something, he's always gonna give it a try. And when I suggest something, he's the same. Okay, we'll give it a try. We'll invest the next half hour in trying this out. And if things don't work out, it's like, okay, well, that's it. It doesn't work out.
Basically, it's like we'll try it your way, then we'll try it my way, sort of thing.
Yeah, and but the thing is with Jacob, there are things I never interfere with. You know, I send him all the files, and of course the drums are always recorded at his place, and he'll set up a basic mix before I even arrive, and he'll reamp the guitars and all that stuff. And so what I'm there for when we mix is more the details, because you know, and track typically an Anubis Gate track has about 10 guitar tracks and maybe 20 to 25 keyboard tracks, and so I can't really expect him to guess what's inside of my
No.
mind. And so that's what I'm there for. I'm there for the details, the way the basic sound of the album is always his work. And I wouldn't, I never interfere with that. If I interfere, it's something like, should the vocals be a little loud or a little, and then we'll try it out. And he'll say, oh, maybe they should. Yeah, sounds good. Or he says, Kim, what are you thinking? So I remember when we recorded a song of the Detached, and he was sort of, my ears are shut, but you keep working, and I set up a mix for the next song, and then he came in the next morning and he was like, Christ, what were you doing? And I was kind of, you're right, my ears were shut too, apparently. So we just took it down and started from scratch on that one. That was pyramids actually, because there was a lot of Egyptian percussion, and I've just pushed it to the max, and I thought, oh, that's cool, but it just sucked all the life out of the song. So that's kind of how we work together.
Okay then, so the new album, or current album, Covered in Colours. Now that must have been a difficult album for you to pick all those songs because there's some really screwed up songs on there that sound great.
Yeah, I mean that was half the fun of it. I mean, we kind of the original plan was for it to be an EP.
Yeah.
So we could each choose a song, the four of us, and then we'd do it. And then because I can't limit myself, so suddenly I had chosen three songs, and the others still had only chosen one song each. And then they were beginning to pitch in and say, "Okay, Kim, what is this becoming an album?" And I'm kind of, is it? Yeah, yeah. Okay, maybe it is becoming an album. And then it became the longest album we've ever done. So, but I think it even though we didn't write the song, it kind of epitomizes the thing I said about making things from outside metal work in a framework of heavy metal.
Yeah.
So that was kind of the things we did, because most of the songs were not heavy metal. There's a Japan cover, and when it was a heavy metal song originally, we changed it to some like a aggressive perfecta, which became kind of the psychedelic ballad on the album. And
I thought that was a hip hop song.
yeah, and I mean, Back in Black was, if you didn't know, I mean, it's only the vocal line that's left of that song. Everything else is kind of completely changed.
I mean, what I like about this album is I like the way you've experimented and you've gone outside your boundaries, which is
Yeah,
brilliant.
I thank you, and I even got to sing a song, so that was quite fun. But
Was this album actually done through lockdown then? Because a lot of bands have been doing covers albums over lockdown, and a lot of musicians have been doing like projects with different people getting together and doing, especially Frontier Records. They've been doing a lot of projects.
yeah, I mean that's kind of almost their thing, Frontier Records, isn't it?
Yeah, some great
Actually,
artists there, some great bands on there.
yeah. I mean, oh, great record label. But they've also kind of, homed into a new kind of business model where it'll be, Ronnie Atkins featuring, I know they're not on Frontiers, but I'm just
Yeah.
exemplifying. And I mean, it's a lot of fun projects are coming out of it actually. Um, Covered in Colors was actually finished before COVID hit us.
Okay.
So typically, an Anubis Gate album will be finished for a whole year before it's released. So just because fitting it into release schedules, and Nightmare never releases things close to Christmas and in the summer. So if we are and we just missed the spot for an autumn release. So it was in the cupboard for quite a while.
So there's no point you doing a Christmas album then because it won't get released.
No, apparently not. I mean, God forbid we ever had a Christmas album. Oh my God, no, we'll do a country album before we do that.
Probably. So I mean, looking at these songs, I mean, the Japan cover, "Still Life in Mobile Homes." I've never actually heard the original, but I do know the band because they had an image of Duran Duran and the Cure mixed together.
Yeah,
But when I heard your version, I thought, wow, this is really good. I need to investigate and listen to the original. And then I played the original. I was like, this is screwed up. They've done an awesome job. But you've actually kept some of the original work in there, but you've done it yourselves, and it just sounds awesome. It's the song that I play the most on this album.
it's I love. I think the original is a great song,
It's
but
very weird, very strange compared to
very
yours.
weird, and it's kind of like that fretless bass line became the guitars in our arrangement. And Henrik is a huge Japan and David Sylvian fan, so that was his idea to do that one. And if you didn't know better, it sound it could have been a if people didn't know it wasn't a Japan song, it sounds like an Anubis Gate track.
Have they actually heard your version, Japan? Have you sent it to them?
Um, yeah, I mean, I think the guitar player heard it. It was posted on in a Japan message board or something, and you know, and everyone hated it except their original guitar player who said, "Yeah, well, okay, it's a new way of doing it," and well, I don't know if he liked it. It was kind of kudos for trying.
I think it's a great version. I mean, he should be honoured that you've done it. The fans should be like, okay, a heavy metal band doing one of their songs. How interesting.
Yeah, but fans are also protective.
Yeah,
You know,
Die Hard. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, and I mean, it's also the protective fans and die-hard fans that keeps the bands running, and make sure there are money to do. And I know Japan is defunct now, but then make sure that there can be done deluxe editions and all stuff like that. So and everyone doesn't have to like everything. I think it's fine when people there are also people that are hardcore fans of our early period, and think everything after a perfect forever was kind of meh. So and but I mean I'm kind of heartwarmed that there are people who thinks those two albums were the greatest you ever did. I mean I love that that people are so invested in art that they love. It's not just us, but of course it can be too fierce. But I mean, without people who love music so much, where would we musicians be?
Yeah. Was this the only Japan cover you had in mind, or did you have any other Japan songs in mind for this covered in colours?
I don't know if Henrik had other songs in mind, but this was the one that he chose. He chose. So I don't know. I don't think. Well, he probably had a lot of Japan songs in mind, but he was pushing for that one, and then the Steely Dan cover, Glamour Profession. That was like, can we do a Steely Dan cover? And I said, yeah, well, sure, if it works, it works. Yeah, and then so that's his arrangement also.
Right, okay. You got the King Crimson song, Red. Whose idea was it to do that?
Oh, that I'm a huge King Crimson fan.
I remember Saxon doing Kick as a one of their songs on
Court of the Crimson
yeah,
King.
they did a real good version of that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that song also. I mean, a lot of people have covered that song, and that's it's a natural heavy metal cover because it's even though there are it's not a heavy metal song, it kind of like fits a heavy metal framework because it's a ballad and then it becomes heavy in the choruses and
Yeah.
yeah, great song.
So that was your cover version then, the Red song,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, because that's kind of like proto um, math metal.
right?
I would think, yeah, it's math metal before it even existed. That song, and the chords are just so weird, and that's I think one of the things that's funny about that song is it's just a guitar riff, but when it there's no vocals, and it's like you're painting with fewer colors, and then the colors that you are actually painting with become stronger, and that's kind of how that song feels. You actually feels, oh, this is the verse and this is the chorus and this is the middle eight, and how can you even define that when it hasn't got a vocal?
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that attracted me to covering that song.
Okay, and the next song you've got Plantage under Ryan. Is it Brian
Yeah,
cover? Who's that?
I'll pronounce it for you.
Yeah.
They're called Under Byen.
Okay.
It's a yeah, they're a Danish band. Translated it would translate to Under the City. So that was actually one a fan that said, "Why don't you record something in Danish?" And we were kind of like, yeah, what will work? And that became the song. It's not a very known song in Denmark either. The original, they are an obscure underground band, but it was a song that kind of had potential for really really meaty guitars and
So whose idea was it to do that song? Was
yeah,
it
that was Henrik's too. Actually, now I think of it, he had a lot of these ideas parked at the start of the album, but that was because they were good ideas. So
okay? Then you got the next song, Experiment with Voivod.
yeah,
Interesting.
oh yeah, but I don't know how well you know that album, Dimension Hatred. I mean,
Yeah, I think it's is it the second or third album? So I've got Raw on CD, the second album.
yeah, okay, yeah, that's really underground, but for me, that album was kind of, one of the albums that changed my view of music. For me, it was a breakthrough album in understanding that you could make heavy metal and you could absolutely be cast all conventions of how you do it aside, and so I wanted to do that one, and I did a kind of demo where I sang it for Henrik. So he had an idea of how I imagined it would go, and that was the demo vocals was what ended up on the album.
So it's not you trying to be Snake on vocals then.
Yeah, it was kind of me trying to be Snake
Yeah.
actually, and Henrik just listen to it and say, I can't. There's no way I can. It has to be like that. There's no way I can sing like that. So we just kept it in.
Right then, in the next song you've got Chromosome by Mike Stern cover. Mike Stern, who's Mike Stern? I
Yeah,
don't
like so
actually know.
that was the guy who I talked about. You know, that's he's a jazz fusion guitarist and quite a big influence on me. You know, I studied on the conservatoire. I majored in jazz playing, so I mean, he was kind of my one of my influences. I don't know if you heard the original.
No.
It's a fantastic track, but very different from what we did, and it's always between guitarists. It's kind of a because it's difficult to play because of the chromatics are always hard to play on guitar. So I was really, I struggled for a long time actually trying to play it right. And that was before we decided to do this album. So when we decided it was going to be a full album, I was like, okay, I can actually play it, so we're gonna record it.
Okay,
So
then the next song you've got Entangled by Genesis. Who's
oh,
that?
yeah, that was my idea. I mean, A Trick of the Tail is my favorite Genesis album, and this it's just a beautiful song. Um, and yeah, and I just thought it's one of those that we didn't change that much, except we shaved off the whole coda and did a sort of Pink Floyd like guitar solo over it.
Okay, then the
Uh,
next. Sorry, the next song you've got Atlantis by Coldplay. Why did you decide to do a Coldplay song? I mean, they're quite modern and everybody wants to sound like Coldplay. You've done.
well, I like Coldplay. That was Henrik's idea. That was one of his, and his daughter is playing the piano actually. And I mean, it's my favorite vocal of the album. Actually, I mean, Henrik is really good on it, and I mean, you can you say what you will about Coldplay, but I think they're fantastic songwriters. Like do you know the English band Keen?
Yeah, I know the name. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a band. Yeah. I mean, probably my favorite English pop band for now. A bit like Coldplay, but no guitars, only bass drums and electric piano, distorted electric piano. So it's quite a yeah, great band.
Okay, and then the next song we got To France by Mike Oldfield.
Yeah. Oh, that was
Was that Mike
more.
Oldfield and the Mechanics, or is it just Mike Oldfield?
No, you're thinking about Mike Rutherford. No, I mean that was Morten Gadeson's idea, and I love Mike Oldfield. Always have. So that was yeah, let's do that. I always like the original, and Maggie Riley is a great vocalist. I like the way she has that soft voice of hers. Very
Yeah.
beautiful.
So the next song you've got Fade to Grey. I mean, everybody knows that from the 80s. Very dancey, new romantic song.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that was my idea. I mean, I love a lot of the new romantics 80s stuff, and yeah, that was I was kind of seeing the potential for making the chorus really heavy, and actually shouting, "We fade to grey" instead of the whisper. So, so that was where that came from, my love of the 80s.
Right, okay. The next song you got the Ozzy Osbourne, SATO. Why did you decide to do that one?
And that was also Morten's idea actually, and it's the only one on the album that's a note for note cover. So, and I was toying with all kinds of different arrangements, and sometimes things just doesn't work out, and I was thinking, okay, we'll have one song that's a note for note cover, and that's going to be the variation of it, and so I had hell trying to copy the guitar solo.
Okay, and the next song is the Slayer song, Aggressive Perfector. Why
Yeah.
did you decide to do that song? Of all the Slayer songs.
Of all the Slayer songs, we did kind of merge South of Heaven into it. Um, there is a Swedish band called Hell Songs. I don't know if you've heard of them.
No, no, I haven't.
And they're kind of, they have a singer-songwriter like sound, and they have done albums of full of heavy metal songs done like folk music, and it's
Okay.
wonderful. Yeah, it's really, and that's what I mean about a good song is a good song. I mean, if it's, I mean, the Evil That Men Do by Iron Maiden, that's just a great song. If you sit down with an acoustic guitar, it's a great song. And I was kind of thinking, actually, Aggressive Perfector is a great song.
Okay.
It's a good song. It's almost bouncy when you just sit down and play it. So and then I pitched the idea to Henrik, and then he did the first part of the arrangement, and we took kind of the coda of Entangled and moved it down to the end of Aggressive Perfector just to mess people up some more.
Okay, and then the next song is Back in Black, AC/DC. I mean, that everybody seems to do all them sort of songs. Why did you decide to do the main songs that everybody else does? Why didn't you decide to do another AC/DC song that's not as popular?
Yeah, I mean, we could have. It was Michael that suggested the song, and I was kind of, yeah, but if we do it, we're going to do it totally different. So I was thinking how would be a good way to do that, and so I kind of imagined that Pink Floyd had written Back in Black, and then that was the version that we did a cover of. So this is a cover of Pink Floyd's imaginary version of Back in Black, and then it became something completely different.
So why didn't you call it Pink in Black?
Yeah, I mean, good question. I'm not sure you are actually allowed to change the titles. I don't know. You can actually. You have to be careful when you do covers because actually you are not even allowed to change the arrangements too much. I mean, nobody has sued us, but actually they could
Really?
for saying, yeah. I mean, you're allowed to do a cover. Nobody can bar you from releasing a cover song, but they can bar you from doing it if you like say you. That's why there are few to none rap versions of Beatles songs because actually they refuse it.
Yeah.
So because the arrangement has moved too much.
Right, and the
So
last song, I mean, the last song you've got Strawberry Fields Forever. Did you actually sing that one? Is that you singing that?
oh no, that's Henrik. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And because I'm a huge Beatles fan, and
I have to say, I'm not a Beatles fan at all. I was like, don't like them. But hey, each to their own.
yeah, yeah. I mean, but that's the great thing, That's what makes music so interesting.
Yeah.
If everybody liked the same stuff, I mean, music would be so boring. The fun comes in the debate about music.
Yeah.
If people are fierce about, because I can easily understand why people wouldn't like the Beatles, um, because they're kind of even seen in a 60s perspective, they're kind of in a bubble of their own. Nobody, and I understand why it's not why many people don't get them.
Yeah,
Um,
I quite understand. I don't understand why you didn't actually release Broken Wings on this because it's a cover. I thought you might have added this
yeah,
as an extra song.
yeah, we didn't because I think we already hit close to the 80 minutes mark on the CD. So we would have to shave one of the other songs off. And then we had released a box set called the Orbits box set, which was the first four albums repressed, and then two discs of live and unreleased material. And Broken Wings was on that, and we wanted to keep all that stuff exclusive. So we kind of felt it already had a release on a physical copy. So
Right.
that was
So,
why.
so you did the Orbis thing. Orbits. What label released that album? That box set?
It was that was a nightmare.
Okay.
I
Is it quite
think
hard to get hold of now? Is it quite difficult to get? Is it
you
still
can buy
available?
it. Yeah, it's still available if you
Oh,
can get
okay.
it through their store.
Right.
Uh, So yeah, I think we still there's there should still be copies left of it.
Right, because when I look at the new album cover, covered in colours, it's very. It looks like a church stained glass windows, if you
Yeah,
know what I
it's
mean.
called that. I think that's if I think that art form is called a mandala. I think, and actually that's connected to the orbit set because we didn't know if there was interest enough in a box set of of represses. So we had this very sweet woman called Lacey Moglow. She ran a fundraiser, and what she does for a living, amongst other things, is that she writes paint books for people who need to relax and they can relax painting by the numbers.
Yeah.
And one of the illustrators for her paint books is Angela, who did the cover artwork for Covered in Colors.
It's a really nice cover because it really stands out. I mean, when I saw it, I was like, "Whoa, this is this really an Anubis Gate?"
Yeah, yeah,
it looks really
yeah.
seventies.
Yeah, it is, and then it was supposed to be, and also, as I said, it because it's the Pendulum album to Covered in Black, so I wanted it to be, and also the wordplay, covered in colors, it's a covers album and it's very colorful, so I don't know if that was stupid, I don't know, but I wanted
It's
it
very psychedelic.
yeah, it's very yeah, and I don't think, I mean, when you do a covers album, it's like is it a real Anubis Gate album or is it what is it called? Is it canon? I think what people and I don't really know. I think it is. For me, it is canon. It's just as worthy as all the other albums we did, but I can understand people who have take the different view. We actually had some reviewers who was kind of it's one of my favorite album of this year, but I wanted put it but I won't put it on my year list because it's a covers album, and I was like, what the fuck? I mean, if it's one of your favorite albums, put it on your fucking year list. But I also understand the sentiment that I see both sides.
Yeah. So, do you think you'll ever do another covers album?
I don't think so.
And will the songs be as screwed up as these are?
I think because you gotta be. I mean, if we were at Dream Theater and I knew that every time we did an album, it will instantly sell 50,000. That might be another. That might be like Pink Floyd did all kinds of in the start of their career they had their main albums and then they did soundtrack albums. And they were kind of like second tier albums. And I think people who sell a lot of albums can afford to do quite a number of second tier projects, but we are not. We don't sell that much, so I don't think that's feasible for us. I think
Yeah.
it'll confuse too many, and so I think that's kind of the covers album. It was kind of like a vanity project, I would say.
Is it been selling well for you, Kim?
It's selling reasonably well, yeah.
Yeah. So, out of all those songs on the covers album, which ones would you play live?
We haven't.
It's got to be Japan in there.
Yeah, that one, and as we haven't discussed this, but my vote would go for Fade to Grey because I mean I can kind of I'm not a big one of the clap your hands along and stuff like that. I mean I tried that once and the and I got slammed in a review for it, so I never do that again.
Okay.
But I mean I can imagine the audience participation in that one. It's great, that. I think that would be great. So yeah, but if we ever did a song of that album, it would be the Japan one.
Right.
So
Okay. Then. I mean, well, last time I spoke to you a couple of weeks ago, I've been noticed on Facebook. You've been doing some like covers concerts in Denmark.
yeah, yeah. I mean that because I do two things for a living. I teach guitar, and that's a full time job. I'm employed at a music school. And what I do in the weekends is that I play cover gigs.
What
And
songs do you play? What songs do you do in the cover band?
yeah, I mean, you know, the usual ones, Sweet Home Alabama and stuff like that. And of course, a lot of Danish artists that no one knows about, you know, outside of Denmark. You know, sometimes we do a couple of Disneyland After Dark songs. You know, we do, I play in like 5 or 6 different bands, cover
Really?
bands.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's a lot of stuff to have inside your head, you know, and then I also quite regularly am out as a substitute. So, you know, on a Monday, I might get a phone call. Can you play next Saturday or Friday? And these are the 30 songs we want you to learn. So I'll have to sit down and learn all those, you know. After a while, you kind of, you know, have played a lot of them with other bands. So it's not that big a problem. But, you
Have you
know,
ever thought of doing anything like a Danish covers band where you're doing like Invocator songs, you're doing Pretty Maid songs, and
yeah, but I mean, who was going to that's it's not a bad idea, you know, a Danish heavy metal tribute band, you know, and Volbeat songs, and you know, you say what you want about Volbeat, but what they do successfully.
yeah,
And they're fantastic musicians, and from what I've heard, I think they're really nice people, and I think it's awesome that before that we only kind of had Pretty Mates as a and fantastic band they are too. And now we also have, you know, Volbeat, you know, waving the Danish flag, and I think that's awesome. You know, finally some Danish metal bands that has a breakthrough. So that's fantastic.
so if you did a Danish covers band, you could do Pretty Maid songs, Invocator, Artillery, Merciful Fate. Who else could you do? Volbeat. Who else?
Yeah,
There used to be a band called Jackal from Denmark, but I think
yeah, I remember Jackal. You
the
know,
singer committed suicide, I believe. Bless him.
yeah. Actually, um, for a very short while, I can't remember the vocalist's name, but he was kind of, you know, on a list that of people we might contact.
Okay.
Um, Not great vocalists. We could do some Mercenary songs, I think. I don't know if you've heard of Mercenary, great
Oh
Danish, you
yeah,
know.
yeah, because the Morton was the keyboard player for Pretty Maids.
Yeah, and you know, yeah, and I
So,
had the pleasure of playing keyboards on a Pretty Mates album recently. I mean, about 5 years ago
oh,
also.
which album?
I played the keyboards on Kingmaker.
Good album. Yeah, I know Ronnie and I know Kenny and Alan and all those guys. I've hung out with them in Denmark, Copenhagen, and stuff.
Oh, they're such nice guys, you
Yeah.
know. I mean, it was mainly me in the studio when I did with Jacob. Um, but actually, the story is that me and Ronnie, or Paul as he is, is his real name. When I was a child, when I was about 13, 14 years ago, I was a, a playing with a band in a youth club, you know, and we had our rehearsal space there. And he was, what's it called? Um, he was working there. And he heard us play, and we played things like Bark at the Moon and stuff like that. And then he was sort of like every time we had a gig, he would sort of, you know, tag along and say, "Oh, let's do Whole Lot Love and let's do Smoke on the Water," and he would jump on the stage with us. And you know, we were just kids, and this was this mega star in our eyes. You know, wow, he wants to play with us. And then many years later, when the keyboard player left Pretty Mates, I was contacted by Jacob, um, saying, "Can you come over? You know, like tomorrow? We have no keyboard player, and we need keyboards for this album." And I think it was Frontiers, because Frontiers are quite strict with their deadlines, so they needed to get the album finished now. So I was kind of, yeah, okay, yeah, sure, I'll play keyboards with Pretty Mates. So and then I think it made it easier because Ronnie knew who I was from then, and you know. Uh, must have thought, oh yeah, I know he's a good musician, so it'll work out. So and it was so very nice to be in the studio with Jacob and Ronnie. There were the guys mostly there.
So, Anubis Gate, when they played live, what bands have you played with or toured with?
We've never actually toured because touring is so expensive.
Hmm.
I mean, I don't know if you've heard of this, and this may shock many or may not. But if you're a support band, you're actually financing the main act's tour. You have to buy yourself. You have to pay a fee for each night. Uh,
So basically, it's pay to play.
yeah, it's pay to play. Yeah, and you know, for a guy like me who comes from a world of playing in cover bands, you know, that's kind of what I mean. I usually get paid to play and paid well. So so that's one thing, you know. I can understand if you're 20 years old and you haven't got a wife and you haven't got a house loan and haven't got a car loan and all those stuff. Why you go into the bank and loan, you know, a quarter of million kroner and go on tour because it'll cost you that much. I can
Wow.
understand why people do that, but for me, it's not just I have to get off work, you know, for maybe 2 months. So so that's 1/6 of my yearly income. I had to find substitute for all the cover gigs and and um not get the revenue for those. And and that goes for all of us. All of us have children. All of us has careers and house loans, and it's just impossible. So what we do is when we release an album, we kind of drip a few gigs out, you know. So we played Prog Power Europe a couple of times, and then we've only played in Denmark actually.
Wow.
And when we play in Denmark, we are almost always able to be the main act. So and we would never dream of asking people to buy on our shows. Never ever would we do that.
Yeah. It's a shame that Pretty Maids don't take you on play some gigs in Denmark because, like you say, you played on the album.
um, I suppose they could have, but you know when you sometimes you also got to be careful about how you use your contacts. So I would to tell you the truth, I would never have asked them because what if they were kind of feeling like, oh, we don't do that, but we kind of owe it to him,
Yeah, a
and I,
favour sort of thing.
yeah, you know, and I don't want to put people who have paid, they paid for my work on that album, you know, I don't want to put them in that kind of situation.
Like
It's not,
pressure. Yeah.
yeah, it's not fair, and it might ruin what you know. No, I don't want to do that.
Yeah,
It's not.
friendship. Yeah, it might ruin your
Yeah,
friendship.
yeah,
I
I
can
think it.
understand that. It's a shame that you haven't played any gigs really because you're a really good band. You've got enough albums. You should be out
Yeah,
there touring.
and we're a good live band. When we do play gigs, we are a good live band. And there is a on the Orbit set. There is a whole live album. It's actually not from a live concert. It's from the last rehearsal before we played. Was it Prog Power? No, it was later. But it's we actually sometimes when we rehearse we put it all down on multi-track, so I can go home and see if you know because we all the keyboards are on backtracks because we don't. It's too many keyboards for one keyboard player anyway. So and I don't want to hire a, a keyboard player to do it because there will also be times when we would have to tell him, hey, the next 10 minutes don't touch the keyboard. I don't want to put that on anyone standing on the stage and kind of I'm doing nothing. So we're just running the keyboards with backtracks, but we are multi-track or rehearsals, so I can make adjustments if you know if something is too loud. Or so we are a good live band, and we play some of the songs we do play quite differently because we also have to slim down, you know, my 10 guitar parts to two. But that's kind of funny, you know. I don't think people uh, miss all the other guitars when we are there, but yeah, It's
I
fun.
I'd like to see you live, and just in case you are rubbish, I can throw some rotten eggs at you or tomatoes.
Yeah. Tomatoes, yeah. And rotten tomatoes, preferably.
Well, I'd like to thank you for doing this interview, Kim. And before we go, I'd just like to say a massive thank you to you for doing that jingle for me. If people don't know about this, Kim from Anubis Gate did me jingle for my YouTube channel, and it's fantastic. But thank you, Kim, for that. Much appreciate it.
Oh, you are absolutely welcome. And thank you for your support for all those years.
I was blown away when I heard it. I was like, "Holy shit, this is cool, man." I've got other guitarists doing music jingles for me as well. I'm going to ask James Murphy from used to be in Testament. He's doing a jingle for me. Well, I've got the guys from Psychotic Walls who said they're going to do a jingle, so that'll be kind of freaky and weird.
Yeah, I like a great band. What a
Yeah,
fucking awesome band they are.
yeah. They'll be
Yeah,
great. You'll be great touring with those guys, definitely.
yeah. That was, that I would love to tour with Psychotic Walls actually. I mean, because they're just so, and Michael is a huge Psychotic Walls fan. You can hear it in
Me
some
too.
songs. Oh yeah, he's kind of they're one of the only bands I know who can sort of fusion major and minor tonalities into one thing. It sounds both weird and wonderful.
But they've got their own unique style as well. That's what I like about them. The guitar solos are very strange and freaky.
And yeah, and gotta love that. Gotta love
Yes.
people who are unique.
So how long did it take for you to do that jingle for me? You must have done it in about an hour or so.
Yeah, I don't. I think I used an afternoon on it.
Wow.
Um, so um, so it might turn up on the next Anubis Gate album. No.
Yeah, just
uh,
use it. Just use the riff. Just use it. You created it. Why not?
I mean, we have finished. Yeah, the only thing that's missing for the new album is the bass guitars actually. So we won't turn up on the next, but maybe the next one after that.
Well, I'd like to thank you for doing this interview, Kim. I wish you all the best. Stay in touch.
Yeah,
And do you have anything to say to the people watching this?
go out and support your favorite bands. Buy the albums. Yeah, buy. Do not stream. Or do stream. Of course, you should stream, but also buy, please.
Right. Thank
I
you for
don't know
this,
if
Tim.
that's appropriate to say because streaming is legal. So
Right. Okay. I wish you all the best. Have a nice weekend,
yeah, and you too.
and we'll
Thanks
keep
for
in
having
touch.
us.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Kim. Cheers.
bye
Bye
bye.
bye. Bye bye.